You notice that this is the last Sunday after Pentecost, and it is Christ the King Sunday. Now, I have to tell you, and I won't name names, but someone this week went, oh, kings. Really? Kings? It's easy for us, I think, to think about Jesus taking care of the poor, healing blind beggars on the side of the road, taking care of people who need him and need his defense. He noticed the very, very poor woman who brought the last 2 coins she had and put them in the temple offering plate. When the woman who had been sick for so many years finally made her way through the crowd to touch his robe, just to touch his robe, she was risking an awful lot being a sick woman in public. And he turned around and did not chastise her, but sent her on her way, saying that her faith had made her well. This is, I think, the way we tend to think of Jesus. When we think of king, that's not the kind of behavior we think of, as a rule. We think about a king who has absolute authority, more power than he knows what to do with. He may be a good king who cares for his people, or he may be just a disgusting person who's so full of himself you don't even want to be in his castle, and he just mocks anything as long as he gets what he wants. Kings owned the land. Kings decided who would farm the land, how much that farmer would bring of the crops as payment for the land, and if you had a bad year, I don't think the king was the one who gave you the discount. Kings have kind of a bad rap. Bob was telling me that he's watching a series on the monarchy, and his word for the kings was disgusting.
Revolting.
Like that. It's hard to put those two things together, right? Unless we think of the gospel passage where Jesus says, "My kingdom is not from this world. It is not like those kingdoms, no matter how good or kind those kings may have been or not have been. My kingdom is not like that. If my kingdom was like that, my followers would have been out there fighting with your guys to keep me free." But you remember, Peter had the sword, whacked somebody's ear off when they came to arrest him. Jesus said, "Put it away." That's not how we do things. And remember that in the Gospel of John, this was not a surprise. None of what was going on was a surprise. In the Gospel of John, Jesus knew from the get-go who he was and why he was here. You remember when they were at the wedding party in Cana and they ran out of wine? And Ron Milburn said, "Do something." And what was his answer? "Woman, it is not my time." He knew what was going on. He knows all the way through John's Gospel that it's not yet his time. Well, with the arrest, it's time. He knows what's going on. And if you watch the way he behaves and the way Pilate behaves in this conversation, it's really Jesus who's acting like a king, not Pilate. Pilate is the Roman governor. Power upon power upon power. He's the emperor's guy in town. He's there to make sure everything is being done according to the emperor's wishes. Now, the leadership has brought Jesus to Pilate. Know why? Because their law says they can't kill him. And they want him killed. Just that simple. They won't come in to Pilate's palace, because if they do, they'll be unclean for Passover tonight. So Pilate, the big, powerful governor guy, goes outside to see what they want. Kind of strange. He comes back in and talks to Jesus. He can't get any of the answers he wants. He goes back outside and talks to the guys some more. And they say, basically, we brought him to you because our law says we can't kill him, and he's pretending to be a king, and that's a threat to the emperor, so you should kill him. Pilate comes back inside and says, this morning's passage, so are you a king? And he said, Jesus says, do you want to know about that, or did someone plant this in your mind? Did someone give you this idea? And Jesus says, my kingdom is not from this world. If my kingdom was from this world, my guys would be out fighting with your guys. That's not how it works. And Pilate, who misses the point entirely, says, oh, so you are a king. And Jesus says, no, not that kind. Jesus says, you say that I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice. I am reasonably comfortable that if I was in a confrontation with someone who had the authority to kill me, I might be a little less assertive than that. But Jesus knows why he's there. It's the continuation of the care for the poor widow, the woman who had been bleeding, the people who were blind and needed to be healed. He's standing up for his people, just like he stands up for us and accompanies us. It's a whole different kind of king. I think maybe especially in this country, given our history, king is a funny word for us. We kind of left the king, right? We kind of came over here to get away from that king thing. We weren't too crazy about bishops coming either, but that's a whole different story. So king kind of makes us twitch just a little bit. But it's the earthly kings that we're worrying about. Not this king. Not this king who comes on behalf of a God who loves us without question, who loves us no matter what. That's who this king represents. That's where this king gets his power. This is the last Sunday after Pentecost. That means it's the end of our church year. Isn't it interesting that we tell the story for a whole year, and this is where we ended, with a king? Curious? In Advent, we get ready for the coming of Jesus as a baby and at the second coming. After Christmas, we have Epiphany. The wise guys get here. They've been traveling more than 2 weeks, despite our calendar. They followed a star before they even knew where they were going. And the implication in that, among others, is Jesus has come for a whole lot more than that little tiny group of people called the people of God. Because they came from way far away to worship him. And as soon as we begin chewing on that, we have to grapple with Lent, where we have time to try somehow to get our heads around somebody willing to die for us. Really? And then we have that amazing capital M mystery of the resurrection and the fact that death lost. We have 7 Sundays of Easter, not after Easter, because it takes us 7 Sundays to even begin to kind of sort of poke at that. And then we celebrate Pentecost, the Holy Spirit who comes to be with us every single day of our lives, to give us the guidance and the comfort that we need to live as best we can as followers of Jesus and lovers of God. And then we have that big old honking long 6-month season called the season after Pentecost, also called ordinary time. And during that big long time, we listen to the history of the church as it moves forward from that amazing resurrection, from that coming of the Spirit, and we see how it grows. And we are the continuation of that story. Not only us, thank you, thanks God, but us, among others, are the continuation of that story. And today, this year's cycle of story concludes with a king. A king who heals blind people, beggars on the side of the road, who notices poor women with 2 tiny coins to put in the offertory. A king who says, God loves you more than you can imagine, more than death. And there's no way for you to lose this love. You cannot unearn it because you didn't earn it in the first place. You were loved before you knew you needed to be loved. You will not stop being loved. It's just a fact. The question is, will you allow yourself to be loved? Will you let that love be a part of you? Will you let that love help guide your decisions and your actions? Will you bask in that love so that you know yourself as an individual deeply loved? Because it will change how you react to the people around you. When you know yourself as loved, you know that you are safe. You know that things that seemed really important maybe aren't quite so important. We have a house guest right now. She has macular degeneration and is very nearly blind. She can see shadows. She's deaf as a post. I've been yelling for 3 days. She has osteoporosis, so that the fractured vertebrae in her back will not heal. And she's on a walker. She's a friend of the family who lives in California, who wanted to come and see where we had moved to. So Stina flew down, spent the night with her mom, and then brought Ann back to be with us for a few days. We had a long talk last night about how terrified she is of going absolutely blind, of being dependent on someone else. This happened because we were not willing to let her boil water by herself, which I still think was a good decision. She's not so sure. The terror that she lives with breaks my heart, because she's not a person who chooses to believe in God's love for her. She knows we love her, but she's putting money down at every place we go for food. She will not let us gift her. She's got to pay her way. And it makes me sad, because she's a delight. She's wicked funny. She's so smart. We played word games, like, okay, it was an animal and now it's a residence. Change one letter in the word. What are they? All right, horse and house. I got the first one. We did that from here to my house. She was making them up as we went. That was the only one I got right. She just made them up as we went. But she doesn't know that she's loved. She doesn't know how to tap into the peace and the strength and the courage that God can make available. She just won't. This is the last Sunday of the season of Pentecost. It's Christ the King Sunday. People under kings who live in the king's land don't get to choose if that's going to be their king. You live there, he's your king. Not how it works with Jesus. Not how it works with the Christ, the Messiah. You get to choose. Every day. Every hour. Is this going to be your king? Are you going to receive the love? Are you going to choose to try to be a better follower of God than you were yesterday? It's your choice. 100% your choice. Always. You will not be loved one iota less, regardless of what you choose. You just get to choose. I hope you will. I hope you will take full advantage of what is available to you as you begin the next cycle of our church year. There is so much